acheron, the best DPS in the game. She is the queen of DPS, but she comes with her own set of problems, which we're here to talk about today. We're gonna get a few disclaimers out of the way here in a second, but I know today is gonna get super cringy with my jokes. That's why I'm wearing the cringiest t-shirt that I have. I got this from an anime convention. They sold me the wrong shirt, and now I'm stuck with this, so yes. Anyways, guys, Miss Acheron, I think that she, like I said, is going to be the best DPS in the game, but I want to get a few misconceptions out of the way, right? Well, I think her investment is kind of high. I do still think she is great for free-to-play players. I still think that she is viable for free-to-play players, and I think that people are getting like this inflated mindset that Acheron's not, oh, look at this damage drop-off with her without her signature light cone on. This is abysmal. It's like she goes from 1,000,000 damage to 600,000 damage at the light cone. Come on, guys. I know it's a big damage drop off, but you're still hitting what, like 200-300k damage with an ult. Come on now. Let's be real here. She is still busting without the light cone or not. Not to say the light cone doesn't give her a lot of damage and a lot more ult uptime. Jesus, she is still goated with the sauce even without it, guys. And then on top of that, I do think she's still free play friendly. Like, you're still building inhility characters that you probably would use throughout your whole account. I really don't think like the building up of the characters are an issue or anything like that either. Overall, though, I do think she's a pretty free to play friendly character. She's just gonna dish out tons and tons of damage, even if you don't meet these prerequisites, right? Like, she's giving herself damage buffs based off the amount of inhility units on the team, right? So she is getting her own buffs even without running like the light cone and stuff like that, right? But overall, I do think Jingliu is still a better free to play, like completely out of the gate free to play option than Acheron is. Just want to let it be known. So all that jibber jabber out of the way, let's talk about the queen of pits herself. I know you saw my I to win to lose reaction video. She is the queen of pits, as he calls her. And yes, even though we don't condone the pit queen Acheron, but we will talk about her. So let's talk about everything wrong with her now. Her investment. I mentioned this before. She has a super, I wouldn't say super. She does have a high investment cost, right? Because you're having to build, first of all, inhility units. You're having to build a lot into crit rate, a lot into crit damage, a lot into speed. You're having to build teams around her. You're having to get light cones, like, all right, my bad. I should say pay to win or gacha light cones to really make her pop the absolute fuck off, and it's gonna be really hard to obtain. So I've went through, broken down all of the stats for investment that you're gonna need for Acheron. So if we're gonna get into the real technicals here of the gear and everything she needs, right, she is going to need, first of all, a crit rate body piece. That's a non-negotiable here. You're gonna need it, right? Then on top of that, you're gonna need a planar set that meshes really well with the team too, that gives you crit rate, right? And then you're gonna need a 4-piece relic set that also gives you crit rate. So if we take into consideration, you get the new planar set, right? And you're using the new diver set, right? Which also gives you crit rate. If you run all of this with a crit rate body, you are still gonna need 5% crit rate per piece, which is still a pretty hard task to reach, I would say, right? This means you're gonna have to potentially give up some stats if you haven't done farming already to make sure she gets the crit rate she needs, because you're probably gonna want, like I said, like an 80% crit rate, right? And with getting 5% per piece, you can reach like 82%, 83% crit rate, somewhere in that ballpark. I didn't do exact math, but I know you need at least 5% per piece, which is at least one extra roll per piece on crit rate. That means you have a piece that has crit rate on it, and you need at least one extra roll into it. Because if we're talking about the range of like how much like crit rate you can get per piece, it's 2.5 to 3.2, which means you need at least one extra roll into crit rate. If you get that one extra roll into crit rate in all your pieces, but like I said, you're going to give up some stats, and also for future proofing the unit, this means that you have to run more crit rate if a new set comes out that's better for Acheron, because now you're trading at a set that potentially doesn't have any crit rate on it. So you're gonna be kind of down bad if you do that. So you're gonna need more crit rate in that circumstance as well. And on top of that, you obviously need crit damage and speed and attack percentage. Not really as much attack percentage, but crit damage and speed for sure. Also, not to mention, we don't have any light cones in the game right now that give crit rate for inhility, so you're down bad in that department too. But while we're on the topic of light cones, let's go ahead and talk about her light cone situation, because people have been saying, oh, you cannot use, if you don't use signature light cone, you are over with. It is done so, brother. You are done. I don't think that's the case. I think the light cone situation is a double-edged sword, right? Either you get the signature light cone, you spend money or whatever to get the signature light cone. Hey, yo, you're dandy, you're good to go. The alternative to that is you either run Good Night Sleep well, or you'll run another light cone that provides a debuff, like Resolute Shines of Pearls of Sweat, or Silverwolf signature light cone, or the Kafka signature light cone, which in turn would allow you to get another stack of Slash Dreams. So it would kind of work like the signature light cone, but without the damage, right? You're losing the damage to get extra slashes to get your ult up even quicker, right? Now, the alternative to that is run Good Night Sleep well at S5 or whatever, right? S5, you're getting 72% damage increase, something like that. Okay, well, now you have this huge damage bonus, but now your ult charges up a lot more slowly because you're not getting the extra stack. And we're going to talk about how, like, slow the ult charges up without having this extra debuff from acheron, because it compounds and gets quite big. But like I said, we're going to say that for a future section of the video. Click on the timestamp if you want to know about that. Really, here's a situation of picking your poison if you're not going for signature Lightcone, or it's like, A, you want ult quicker, or B, do you want more damage? So yeah, pick your poison with that. But you know who uses Lightcones? Your teammates. That was a bad joke, so please subscribe to the channel if you've watched to this point in the video, because that was a really bad joke and you should subscribe. And I'm wearing a really cringy t-shirt for this video, so please subscribe. Anyways, let's talk about our teammates, because I also see a lot of points of contention talking about investment in teammates. She's not free to play friendly because the units we have either A, have to be used for Dr. Ratio, or B, you just have to build a whole new set of characters for, right? And yes, I get that. And I think the upfront investment is going to be pretty high for, especially if you're a new player coming to the game this patch, and you've probably already built up the traditional characters of, let's build my Asta up, let's build my Ting unit up, let's build my sustain character up, stuff like that, right? People are probably building up healers as well, not as many tanks. Who's going to build March 7th? We don't have a 4-star, like really good 4-star tank in the game right now, so they're probably building up their healers instead. With this, I understand. I think it's going to get better with time. I think that she will get better with time the more agility characters get added into the game, but as a free-to-play standpoint right now, I think it is really hard to build all these characters up just for acheron, right? Well, I guess you could also build them up for Dr. Ratio too, because now you're running into the same situation as you would run into with just like buffing or hyper carry-esque units, right? Well, I can't put my buffers on both sides because I don't have them all leveled up, or I don't have enough buffers to put on both sides. Now you don't have enough debuffers to put on both sides to get with them, right? And I understand that because you're getting Dr. Ratio for free. Maybe this argument can't be made when he's not free anymore, but the fact that he's still free, meaning you still have to use slots on him. Right now, I do think Dr. Ratio overall is easier to run because it is based off the current number of debuffs on the enemy, which is a little bit easier to work with versus applications of debuffs. So you really want to put, like, I guess, allies that apply a lot of, like Silverwolf in this scenario, if for some reason you had her, would probably be better on a Dr. Ratio team just because she can apply so many debuffs, a number of debuffs on the enemy, because she really only has 2 moves that can apply debuff, and some of these characters can apply, you know, debuffs with ult, skill, base, like everything, right? They can apply it so many more debuffs so much more often that might be something you need to look at there, right? But let's talk in terms of, like, what would you need to invest in? Like, what are the characters realistically that you would have to invest in to really get an acheron team up and running? So it's Gwenifin, Black Swan, Kafka, Silverwolf, and Pela. So out of that whole list, what have you realized? There's only really 2 4-star debuffers in the game that are just like kind of good with her, right? Like, I mean, you can run Luca. You're having to use skill every turn on him, though, to inflict bleed on the enemy. But that's kind of out of the question. Sampo might be a decent option because he can put wind shear on the enemy with his basic attack, meaning you can be more SP positive with him. But on top of that, you're having to wait for his ult to get another debuff to proc off. Welts can be used. Like, you can do slow, you can do imprisonment. So there's maybe some comps you could run with Welt there. I think Welt's an okay choice to pick here. But realistically here, right, the only 2 free-to-play, like, debuffing options here are Pela and Gwenifin, right? You don't have Black Swan, you can't really run here. You don't have Coffee, you can't run. If you don't have Silver, you can't run, right? You get what I mean, right? So that means you're having to pick now, like, do I run Dr. Ratio or do I run acheron? And I guess a quick fix solution to this would be, hey, if the enemy is weak to imaginary, just run Dr. Ratio. If the enemy is weak to lightning, just run him. But then you get into the situation of, oh, I can't run both on both sides now. So it does come down to how many characters in the game that we have that actually debuff the enemies consistently. I think that will be better over time, but as of right now, it's just kind of dog shit, kind of trash. But I will say one plus side to this is you can run Fire MC. Yes, you right there can finally use your Fire MC. And why can you run your Fire MC? You put Trends of Universal Market on them because you might just have this Lightcone lying around, and if you do, what you can do is you can taunt. What is a taunt? Taunt's a debuff, and what does a taunt do? A taunt makes the enemy attack that particular person that taunted the enemy, which means Fire MC now will be getting attacked and using Trends of Universal Market, which inherently makes the enemies get debuffed, which gives acheron more stacks. So very poggy there. I don't think the argument of she's not free to play friendly because we don't have the characters on our account really make like it's not really a good argument, right? Like we already have these characters probably built up if you have Dr. Ratio, right? The issue is we don't have enough to support two debuffed centralized units, right? That their damage scales off of the amount of debuffs on the enemy. That's their main issue, and that's why it can be a problem. But now here's the moment you probably been waiting to hear, right? I talked about it before. Clunkiness. Her ultimate without her light cone. Yes, it can get pretty clunky, right? I'm talking if you have her signature light cone, you're getting her ultimate at least 3 to 4 actions before she would if she doesn't have this light cone equipped. And this is like being more realistic right now. You could obviously reduce this number by having, you know, a tank on the team with Trends of Universal Market. If you don't have Trends of Universal Market, right, and you're running her with 2 Inhility units, right, you're talking 3 to 4 character actions behind, right? And this adds up. This just keeps adding up over time, right? So whereas the first cycle, it might be, oh, you get it around the same time. The second cycle is you're like, oh, it's like 3 character actions behind. That's fine. That's okay. And you get around to the next time using it, and then it adds up to, oh, now it's been 6 character actions in a whole another cycle. And then it adds up again. Oh man, it's been almost 2 cycles now that I haven't got to use the ultimate. I could have used 3 ultimates by now. No, that's amazing. Yeah, so hope this little chart here I threw on screen helps you get a little bit of visual on like what the turnaround time is on this, because it is actually insane. If you don't have the signature light cone, you are nowhere near getting your ults fast right now. There's obviously ways to mitigate this by running someone like a Fire, MC, or Japar on the team with Trends of Universal Market. Obviously, you're gonna have to run 2 Inhility characters. I don't really think there's any way around that with getting her ult up fast. If you're running her with a Sparkle, it could be possible too. If you're running her anything else, if you're running with 1 Inhility unit, yeah, that's GG, buddy. GG's, buddy. I don't know what you're doing. You run her with 2 Inhility units. You're trolling, brother. To kind of recap all the issues that I see here, and then maybe you can combat me with this in the comment section down below, because I would love to hear your input on it. I see that she's going to be clunky, or she can be clunky with not the right team setup. She is going to be kind of high investment, especially from a relic perspective, getting at least 5% crit rate per piece. From a light cone perspective, yours kind of a double-edged sword if you don't get her signature light cone. But overall, I think she is still a great unit for free-to-play players. I still think she's amazing. I think she's pretty close to a must-pull, right? I think you can just kind of throw her with whatever, like a Hildy unit at the end of the day, and still be completely fine, right? I think if you're new coming to the game, she's absolutely gonna blow your socks away with how much damage she can do, right? We're talking here about what are the negative, like we're looking at this from a damage perspective, right? And we're saying, oh, she has like a 50% damage fall off. Yes, a 50% damage fall off, but she's hitting for 900k, and then she goes down to hit, you know, 500k, 300k, 200k. That's still an insane amount of damage to be dealing with a character without all of this stuff equipped, right? Like, so I think a lot of people are coping out with the fact like, oh, we're running this character suboptimally, when in fact you can still easily clear any event in the game without having any of this stuff equipped, right? It's just extra cream on the cake. It's extra damage. At the end of the day, I think you're gonna be completely fine. I'm pulling for Acheron on both my accounts. She's just that insane. My free-to-play account's gonna love her. I have a Jingle You on that account. I have a Dr. Ratio obviously I have a Dr. Ratio on the account. Anyways, Miss Emanator Piteron will be pulled. Anyways, guys, bye guys, see you later. Tell me what you think, and see you later. Bye. Jumbled up. I don't know. What am I doing? Bye guys.